Hello and welcome to another episode. Should I be calling these episodes? I don't know. Of About the Albums. And today we're talking about Admitted Defeat, which originally came out in October of 2012. And in general, this is just a pretty, I don't know, kind of a downer of an album. But it's not the kind of thing where it's like very like, I don't seem real angry or even real sad on a lot of it. It's just kind of, like the title sort of suggests, I just feel very defeated. And it's also a lot of perhaps the height of me being like, here's my artistic, philosophical album of asking questions. And I'm sort of almost feeding you the answer already of like things that are like, things are meaningless. And it's just, what's the point? There's not a point. Like that kind of, a lot of just, real basic, not real well thought out philosophy, just a lack of understanding things and a lack of finding answers and using that as my answer. I feel like that's a lot of it. So it can be kind of annoying even to me to listen to it. But it's still kind of interesting and there's some neat songs on here. So we'll get to them as we get to them. And just to give you an idea of just how much I felt like very defeated in this. When I originally released it, I didn't really do much for tags or anything on the videos, and I didn't put like my name on them. I think I just put the name of the song, and I don't know that I put anything in the descriptions either. I was like, I don't care, and it just came out. So I was in a great headspace when I made them. But that's just a joke. I'm much better now. So that one's for real though. Let's get to the songs. We sniff out the lies. Am I me? Are you? Just some questions. Just Some Questions does a great job of setting the tone for the album. I like the way it kind of starts off with just the drums playing. I think that's cool. I don't know, it's kind of an interesting way to just open it up. I don't usually start stuff with drums like that for just the whole album, I guess. So it kind of stuck out a little bit. And the whole thing is kind of repetitive, keeps trudging on with it, but I think the notes, the tones I picked for the other parts are interesting. And especially the weird pew, that sound in there too. I don't know, almost sounds like a creepy game show or an opening to a really weird show or something. And all the questions, I'm just asking a bunch of things. That's again, a lot of questioning things about existence and the point of it, the reality of it, what's real, what isn't, that kind of stuff. Things that were swirling in my head a ton, and I just had trouble ever really answering. So that's a great way to kick this off, because a lot of that is to come. Take a look at these normal people. Take a look at these average people. Take a look at these different people. Take a look at these stupid people. Look at People is probably my favorite song on the album. I've always really liked it. The piano part is I don't know, just something about the riff, the way it sounds kind of sad and also kind of awkward and frustrated. I don't know, it just fits really well. And then that with the simple drums and that, and then the horn that comes in for the solo part, that's cool. I don't know, just think the tones I picked went well with what I was going for. And also, this is another big aspect of the old Sam philosophy on stuff. I got very, I don't know, cynical and just I don't know, I had a very negative outlook on a lot of things. And so, here it's just this observation of people and how everybody sucks. Basically. And And it's, I don't know, just because I've had, again, poor interactions, poor connections with people, that kind of thing, kind of led to that. And so this is a song that isn't really like going into details of like why I think these things either. It's just like, it's kind of presenting it as that's just the way it is, and this is a song like inspired by it is in that world. So like, I don't know, very very in my own head in this on this album in general, and yeah, these are probably going to be interesting things, and keep in mind going forward with other stuff as you hear these themes kind of repeated throughout. You're in for a fun ride. By the end of this, everyone's going to be like, man, this guy probably still has problems. Keep your mind closed. Keep your mind closed. Keep your mind shut. Keep your mind closed. Keep Your Mind Closed is a song about, well, kind of what the title says, but it's kind of like this idea of, just kind of accepting things the way they were kind of presented to you in the first place, the way you've been trained and taught to feel about things and think about things, and just to not open your mind to the idea that, maybe that's not true, maybe there's more to it, and I guess in a way, I mean, it's also kind of this idea of like, saying that like, if all this is meaningless, then you should keep your mind closed so that you don't have to have that kind of existential like dread of that, right? So it kind of works on those things. And I did have lyrics for this that I wrote down. I had the things to say, but like I didn't really sing it. I just kind of talked in it. And I don't know that I do a great job projecting the things I want to when I'm talking. Like I don't know that I'm a very good voice actor, but if we're comparing that to the quality of me singing, I think they're about on par with one another. So I think it's all fair game. Hurry to the answers. Hurry on, my friend. Hurry to destruction. Hurry to the end. Hurry is pretty basic in that it only has really the one set of lines repeated. But the general concept there is the idea that, we just really want to have this knowledge. We really want to understand these things. And then the idea that, like, you want to know, like, the point of things. Again, right around the point of life thing, the reason for existence kind of questions. And then the idea is, like, hurry to destruction is kind of about, like, that's going to destroy you and, like, how you perceive things. And then hurry to the end, it's, like, going to be, like, the death of everything as you know it. Existence and life as you know it is going to be gone because of the way you've been thinking, the answers you're getting, the thought process is happening. And I really like the space pad organ thing and like the guitar instrument, those in there sound pretty cool with this. It's still a kind of repetitive thing that goes over and over, but I think that helps kind of with the layers of things being added to it. I think the tones work well on adding that bit of like kind of spookiness and mystery and kind of ramping up the intensity as like the idea is settling in more. So it's pretty neat for, the limitations on it of being very repetitive. It somehow doesn't feel that repetitive, at least to me. So that's cool. All is nothing. Everything is not. Even nothing is nothing. Existence does not exist. Existence does not exist. If the title "To Be Is As Not To Be" isn't pretentious enough for you, the song is just another one where it's like asking a ton of questions. Again, this one's largely focused on the thing of like existence and like the idea of perceiving things and like how do you know that these things are the way you perceive them? How do you know that you are perceiving things or that you exist? Is there a way for you to really know these things, to even explain what they are and to, justify them and all that kind of stuff? It's just kind of delves into madness and just having a mental breakdown over these concepts, and kind of just very representative of like the mental struggle I've had with these ideas. And I mean, I think I did an okay job with like I had all the stuff written down, so I didn't really have like didn't really know like it wasn't gonna be like sung on a beat or anything. It was just again me saying these things. So I did okay at delivering them. I think I maybe could have done a little bit better in the build up to like the breakdown thing, but I wanted to make sure I said all the words and didn't mess up on them or anything, and then also make sure the timing was still okay for doing what I wanted to do with the song itself to make it fit in the right amount of space. So there's a little bit of hesitation you can kind of tell there. I'm no voice actor, like I said, but I think it works pretty well for what I wanted it to be. So that's as good as I'm gonna get for something so batshit. We were made to suffer. We were made alive. And like all the others, we were born to die. Best left to better minds brings in another element to these things of what is existence, what is the point, there's no point, and brings in the question of like, basically this thing of like I'm atheist, so it's like, I call it a maker, is like, is there a God or anything, right? And if there is, like, why would we have to go through these things if that was the idea? Like, what a weird thing. Weirdly enough, though, it kind of ends with this thing of like, it's me just in the background, like not directly next to the camera, to try to make it sound like I'm kind of further away, but I wasn't far enough away to make it sound like I was. I don't know, but saying these things are best left to better minds. With the idea that like you just have to be smarter to find the answers to these things is kind of that. What I'm saying there, like I can't find the answers, so it would take someone much smarter than me, which is not hard to do. I'm not real smart, but like for those things you have to be like pretty fucking smart to like figure that stuff out and like explain it in a way that's gonna make sense to people. So best left to better minds. Also the instruments, I don't know, like just a little like it kind of slowly builds, and I guess I kind of like that all the instruments sound kind of like small. They don't sound like huge big wall of sound kind of thing like I usually do. It's like done in a similar fashion, but all the instruments are kind of like small and like thin, I guess is the way I would describe that. And so it's like it's very like hoppy and punchy, and it's cool. Like it. I look outside, see a tree. I wonder if it notices me. Tree is a song that I played while also singing. I just kind of was hitting the keys. You can hear the clicking of the keys. And it was just kind of so I could sort of time out what I wanted to do. I made up all the words. I didn't like write them down. I just kind of I did them as I went. And then I think I actually just named the song after because I didn't know what it was going to be called. Because I didn't know where I was going to go with it. But it ends up being mostly about just this idea of like wanting to, forget about all of these thoughts about this line of thinking and just go back to a time when things were simpler, and wanting to be simple, like just being a tree. Like this, the question, does a tree know what it is? Does it even know it's a tree? It's probably not thinking like that, right? So that, and also like the mentioning be like the fish, like dead fish in a fish tank. Of just being like that, I would be dead, I guess. So like it's for kind of like really like happy as the song kind of sounds, it also is like a really like dark and like kind of troubling song in that sense. So that makes it a little more off-putting and weird that it has that tone to it. But it came out pretty good for something. It is kind of like, I think the only parts I had planned were like the main like thing, and then like the little like solo-y bit at the end. And the rest was just kind of what came to me. And that's how we got Tree. Tree came to me. The air today is much too heavy. So Clear is about the burden of just thinking all these things and kind of coming to the conclusions of not really having conclusions to a lot of these things. Just that emptiness and pointlessness, and the idea is just like it kind of leaves you out of breath and just exhausted of all energy and hope and like just of life. And so the idea that it's like everything just makes too much sense, that it's just kind of, it's like awful truth. And so it's just like at the same time it feels like you can't breathe, yet the air around you is just too heavy. Like everything is just kind of like the world, everything is kind of just pushing down on you because you can't find anything. You're just kind of drowning in all of the nothing. Existential dread, nightmare, whatever. It's based around that. I tried to sing it in a very airy way with airy instruments on it. And so I'm kind of mentioning the air a lot to kind of go along with that theming. So that was an interesting way of doing that. Props to me for thinking to do that. Rather than just having the two things being kind of unrelated and like, these things sound cool for this, and then the singing sounds neat for this. Like, they kind of go together. I would use the other hand to also do this with this motion of coming together, but there's a microphone in it. So it just kind of looks like I'm gonna insert something into my microphone. I'll go. Reality fogs, and all is lost. He closes his eyes for the last time. Admitted Defeat is the title track, and it was actually kind of hard to do this one, just because, like, playing it, I wanted to make it long enough to fit, like, stuff in it. But it repeats the same thing over and over, and that's kind of, I guess, like, a sort of a thematic thing of, like, just life, everything's kind of, like, droning on. It's just kind of a perpetual, like, the cycle of, like, you know, you go through the motions, and this is what every person kind of just does, and then they're born, they live, they die, the thing just kind of moves. So it's kind of, like that, and also because I wanted to, like, the way I didn't really even sing it, I was mostly talking it too, but I tried to speak it in more of a monotone, the way I just normally talk, but to not, like, give too much, like, energy or inflection or anything to the words, because it's supposed to kind of represent the idea that, admitted defeat, that just kind of like you shut down, you just kind of stop. It's not really like any emotion to it. There's not really anything to it, and so I wanted to keep it very flat. And so the song has more concept than it does, goodness. It's not great musically because it just kind of repeats that thing. It's not great for singing or even just me narrating the way I'm talking on it because it's just very flat. But at least the idea comes across, and I guess that's better than it just sucking. Deepening realization shall undo it all. Was I ever really real? Was I real? Is a song from the perspective of just an old man who's dying, essentially, or is ready to, and is pondering if, like, they're really going to have an impact on, the world afterwards, if any of it was really anything, if it was, like, again, the general idea of what is existence? Is it real? Was I real? Um, and just kind of like trying to help people kind of be like, yeah, don't obsess over that. Just kind of forget about me. It's not really important that the idea of me persists after I'm gone. And just really interesting like feel to the song that way. But I'm not a voice actor, so I don't necessarily sound like I sound like someone who's trying to do an old person voice, who I don't actually sound like an old person. But I think even voice actors, you need someone who probably specializes more in like doing voices like that to sound like a lot of voice actors are probably a little more specialized. Of like some are like there's probably a few who are like great at a bunch of voices, but even really good ones probably have like they're good at like certain kinds of voices, and so they get cast for those roles. But I don't know because I don't really know much about it. I just know that my voice always just sounds like me, and that doesn't really do a lot of favors for someone who would be looking for voice acting role because they're like, hey, we need somebody that sounds like that fat loser on YouTube, and like then and somehow they don't have to narrow it down; they just know it's me. I don't know how they do that, so that's really good. There's some great brand recognition right there. But Was I Real was a song that I talked about before I went off on a weird tangent. Just Don't Give a Damn is an instrumental to close out the album, and it's a kind of a simple thing that kind of repeats the same thing and cuts out parts of it and then puts them back in. It's a simple thing I've done, with it's a formula I do with a number of songs, but I just really liked the way it sounded, so that's kind of a way to keep playing the same thing and make it, like something that's kind of repetitive feel a bit different, is to just, isolate parts of it and then like, the different layers and whatever that way, so it just kind of keeps it interesting. But I don't know. I really liked it. I actually ended up using it for the short-lived, now gone, Lampside movie talks, which is where I just had recorded a thing randomly talking about a movie. I think it was maybe the Super Mario Brothers movie. I felt like I had some stuff to say about it that I found interesting upon rewatching it. And the shot happened to be me sitting next to a lamp, so I was like, I'll make this a little series. And then as soon as I got out of, video game related movies that I was talking about, I quickly realized, oh hey, the thing that I think should have been pretty obvious, just because I can be a decent video game critic doesn't mean that that's going to apply to movies. Also, they're very different mediums, and I'm a horrible movie critic, so I stopped. But that was the song I used um, for the show. And also just the idea that just don't give a damn. It's just like not caring anymore, and kind of to close out the whole album, I think helps kind of. This is a nice way to finish it. And yeah, the whole thing, this whole album is just very like me preaching the weird philosophy of like nothing matters, nothing's anything. Everything is whatever. I don't care anymore. And that's some heavy stuff, but don't worry, because next time we're gonna have a bit of a different tone to things. So stick around for that. And if you stuck around for this long for this, thanks. It's always nice that people are, watching and listening. And it sounds silly to say this at this point since nothing has gone up yet. It's just all in the recording stuff to get it ready phase. But it only is gonna seem stupid if I get exactly 0 views, and that's hard to do. I've had the Mega Man X review that sat at 0 views for a long time, but I feel like most of my videos at least get a couple views before people are like, it's too, I don't care, and there's too many other videos in front of it now. So, so thank you for watching. It's fun, and I'll see you next time on About the Albums. The artwork for Admitted Defeat is also very lazy, and it's just a blue font. I think it's Times New Roman, because again, I didn't really care. And the other thing I've added for the remaster, all I've added is just my name at the bottom also. That's pretty much all I did. There's not a whole lot to say other than, it's once again, kind of like a negative. Admitted Defeat is like a very bland cover on purpose. But also, some of that is due to laziness this time rather than it being purely like a artistic standpoint. I was just kind of exhausted with my thoughts and everything at this point, so that's kind of why it ended up this way. But hopefully it's still somewhat of an interesting tidbit. Be sure to let me know if you like these bits o' tid, because if you don't, I won't necessarily stop. I just will feel bad about it, and you at least you'll have accomplished something.